how my light glowed till I stepped through them two doors. Left church, cause that was just fool's gold. My eyes the color of onyx. YAH'S message came to me as clear as you telephonically alerting me. He opened the scrolls and fed his word to me. Now I'ma give to those hope lost whose spirit is froze. The knowledge of how they conquer their foes. Enemies be hatred of self. Something dangerous like this crack is wealth. Let's flee Babylon and let YAH be our help.
Keeping my eyes on YAH, I won't let up. I'm strong and bold, I won't give up. When I fall, He came and saved me. The righteous fall, don't let up. Every time we gon' get up. When I call, He came and saved me. Keeping my eyes on YAH, I won't let up. I'm strong and bold, I won't give up. When I fall, He came and saved me. The righteous fall, don't let up. Every time we gon' get up. When I call, He came and saved me. Keeping my eyes on YAH, I won't let up. I'm strong and bold, I won't give up. When I fall, He came and saved me. The righteous fall, don't let up. Every time we gon' get up. When I call, He came and saved me. Keeping my eyes on YAH, I won't let up.
Shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, giving all praise and honor to the Holy One of Israel, to the Creator of the heaven, the earth, the sea, and all that is therein is, by saying hallelujah. Praise the mighty YAH. YAH is righteous. YAH is holy. And let Yahweh be magnified. Once again, the Creator has allowed us to come before you another day, another night, another week, bringing to you His great, holy, and exalted words, even the words of truth. My name is Mowreh IshYAH YIsraEL of the House of Israel, located right here in Cincinnati, Ohio, 1907 Vine Street, bringing to you nothing but the truth. And yes, it is true. All we're going to do is tell you the truth, for Yah ordained me to tell you the truth. And this is what I'm going to do. And who is this YAH? YAH is the creator of the heaven, the earth, the sea, and all that is therein is. YAH is the Elohim of our fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, Yitzhak, and YIsraEL, whom you may know as Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. YAH is our king. He's our judge. He's our lawgiver. And YAH is our only Savior, and not just of Israel. YAH is the Savior of the world. And I praise the mighty YAH for another opportunity to come before you to bring to you his great, holy, and exalted words. Tonight we will be discussing our subject matter, focus driven. And why? The Creator wants us to become very focused on the very tasks, on the very things that he will have us to do. And I find even in these last days, our people are still not focused on Yahweh. One of the things that have totally distracted us as a people, as we've been bringing to you, is the various ways, the various things that our people will concern themselves with. And ask yourself, do Yahweh want us to be focused on, just focus on raising kids? Is that what Yahweh want us to do? Do Yahweh want us to be focused on getting a job? Do Yahweh want us to be focused on finding a spouse? Do Yahweh want us to be focused on having a good marriage and a good relationship? Is that where Yahweh want our focus? Do Yahweh want us to be focused on our brotherhood, our sisterhood? Really, what do Yahweh want us? Where do he want our focus? And wherever this focus should be, there's no doubt in my mind that we should be focus driven. The Almighty said this in the book of Isaiah, the 51st chapter. I want to turn there. Because for some reason, we're still not focused on Yahweh. I said Isaiah 51, but before I read that, I got to read this in the book of Psalms. And you'll find this in the book of Psalm 127. And this is what it says. In the very first verse. Unless Yahweh builds a house, or the house, they labor in vain that build it. Unless Yahweh keeps the city, the watchman waits but in vain. And so what Yahweh is consistently telling us over and over again, that the various things that we would do, it is in vain unless Yahweh builds it. It is in vain unless Yahweh is watching it. It is in vain unless Yahweh is in the mix. And oftentimes, we are dealing with things and Yahweh is not in it. Which lets us know our focus is out of sync. But we want you to get back in focus. How do you get back in focus? Where should your focus be? Where should your focus lie? And where do you start? Focus driven. Well, let me show you where you start. You start with yourself. You start with self. I know it sounds selfish, but Yahweh said, love your neighbor as you love yourself. Because if you don't start with self, then how can you build anything? And everything that you're doing should be about building. And if you want to start somewhere, you always start in the beginning. And what is the beginning? The beginning is Genesis. And let's get you back into focus. Now watch this in the book of Genesis. I want you to turn there first, because we are talking about focus driven. Our people today they not focused on the right things. They're out of focus, as a matter of fact. And there's certain things you gotta know. You got to know where to start. When a man start building a house, he don't start at the roof. So where do you start? Yahweh said, unless Yahweh build a house, they that labor. All your labor is in vain. You put a lot of energy into trying to make a relationship right. You're trying to get your job right, get your money right, get your credit right, get your health right. But nobody is focused on Yahweh that builds and make everything right. As a matter of fact, who do you think made the crooked things straight? It's Yahweh. And who said they will make the crooked things straight? Yahweh. In the book of Genesis, the very first chapter, focus driven. In the book of Genesis, the first chapter, look what it says. The very first verse, in the beginning, Elohim created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the spirit of Elohim moved upon the face of the waters. And Elohim said, let there be light. And there was light. And Elohim saw the light that it was good. And Elohim divided the light from the darkness. And Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. So here it is, when Yahweh started his beginning, the beginning of his creation, what Yahweh would do, what Yahweh will begin, what Yahweh will make and create is light. And why? Because how can you be focused and you can't even see? And Yahweh wanted you to be able to see. So the very first thing he wanted you to have to be able to be focused is light. Now, what did Yahweh, how did he want you to use this great light to bring about your focus? Well, let me show you why light is so essential to every individual that lives. everyone that has life, everything that has life. Light is essential. Matter of fact, light was the first thing Yahweh said he saw that it was good. It was complete. It was perfect. And no one, or I won't say no one, but for some strange reason, as a people, as a nation, light is not the very first thing. Everybody want to say, well, let me get this right over here. Let me get that right over there. And let me get this together here. And let this happen over there. You're not focused at all. Ain't nothing going to be together unless you start at the beginning. And that is light. And watch what Yahweh said about the light. For example, show you how important light is. If you go to the book of Proverbs, let's start there. Proverbs, the 6th chapter. We're talking about focus driven. Our people are driven, but make no mistake about it, they ain't focused whatsoever. In the book of Proverbs, the 6th chapter, and watch what it says. The 23rd verse. It says, for the commandment is a lamp, and the law is light, and reproofs of instruction are the way of life. In other words, if your focus is light, then how can you have light without having a law? And how can you have a lamp without the commandments? Commandments and the law is essential to your focus. And you can't see, you can't be focused on somebody else doing the commandment and out somebody else doing the law. You the one have to do the commandment. You the one have to do the law in order for you to be focus driven. But our people worried about what other people doing. Watch what the scriptures say. Proverbs, the 4th chapter. Still speaking about the very first thing Yahweh brought into existence for us to have focus. How can you see anything and everything is out of focus? In the book of Proverbs, the 4th chapter, the 18th verse, and watch what it says. For the path, let me start at the 17th verse so we can have this in context. Watch this. This is speaking about the wicked. I'm going to start at the 14th verse. Watch this. Enter not into the path of the wicked, and go not in the way of evil men. Now, the only way you can see this evil, the only way you can see the path of the wicked, you got to have light. But watch what it said. Avoid it, pass not by it, turn from it, and pass away. In other words, our people, they're going the path of the wicked trying to save somebody. No, this says, watch what it says in the 15th verse. Avoid it, pass not by it, turn from it, and pass away. In other words, don't deal with this thing at all. For they sleep not, talking about the wicked, unless they have done mischief, and their sleep is taken away, unless they cause some to fall. In other words, the only time the wicked can sleep, the only time they can cause the wicked or cause anyone to be off-centered, they can't even sleep. In other words, if everything is good and everybody is right, then they can't sleep. But when things are happening bad, they sleep good. 17th verse. Watch what it says. For they eat the bread of wickedness. Just people who they don't know Yahweh, and they just tell you anything, say anything, and it sound good, look good, but it really is just the bread of wickedness. And watch what it says. And they drink the wine of violence. But the path of the just, this is the part I want you to go. No. The path of the just is as the shining light that shines more and more unto the perfect day. See, when you concern yourself with being light, then what you're doing is shining until you become more perfect. Not so with the wicked. 19th verse. The way of the wicked is as darkness. They know not at what they stumble. In other words, you can tell a wicked man, a wicked person, all kind of things. And you thinking in your mind, that why can't they see this? Why don't they know this? They can't see why they stumbling. They can't see why they happy. Ain't happy. They can't see why things are not going good for them. No, they can't see. Because they're not focus driven. And how can you be focus driven and you're not even focused on the light? This is the very thing, first thing Yahweh said and saw that it was good. The light is so important to Yahweh. Look what the Creator says in the book of Isaiah, the 8th chapter. Focus driven. What you focus on? A lot of times we focus on the symptoms and not the root problem. I see a lot of people, they focus on their health, but they don't even know why they sick. They think sickness, they sick because they touched something, or because somebody coughed on them, or because they ate something. But they don't even realize all wounds, all sicknesses, all diseases come from Yahweh. But who turned to Yahweh for good health? Watch what the Creator says in the book of Isaiah, the 8th chapter. Focus driven. 20th verse. We already read in the book of Proverbs 6 and 23, it says, the law is light, and the lamp and the commandments are a lamp. But watch what it says in Isaiah 8 and 20. To the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. So you're always looking for somebody to steer you towards the what? The light. Because once they steer you toward the light, then you know they're focus driven. And if you go toward the light, then you know you focus driven. But if you don't want to hear the light, you don't want to see the light, you don't want to have nothing to do with the light, and they don't want to have nothing to do with the light, and their actions show there is no light in them, show you what Yahweh said about those who reject the light in the book of Proverbs. Watch this. And the light is something that you don't want to reject. First of all, how can you be focused and you don't even have no light? That's the last thing you want to be, somewhere without light. Who want to be somewhere without light? In the book of Proverbs, (28). Watch what this says. Because it says to the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there's no light in them. So therefore, in the Proverbs 28 and 4, watch what it says. They that forsake the law, and why? In other words, they forsaken the what? The light. They that forsake the law praise the wicked. What else can you do but praise the wicked? You're forsaking the light, man. But such as keep the law, in other words, one that is in the light, one that is about the light, contend with the wicked. And that's what you want. You want to contend with the wicked. Also, Proverbs 29. Or right before we go to Proverbs 29, stay in Proverbs 28. We read the 4th verse. Watch the 9th verse. We're talking about focus driven. You focus on her. She focus on you. Y'all focus on the kids. You focus on your job. They focus on what's going on in the streets, what's happening in the news. But who's focused on Yahweh? For Yahweh said, unless Yahweh build a house, they that labor in vain to build it. So you got to be focused on what Yahweh is focused on. And the very first thing, the beginning of what Yahweh will turn his focus to is the light. He said, let there be light, and there was light. And he saw that this light was good. So why can't you see that it's good? In the book of Proverbs 28, this is how good the light is. The 9th verse. He that turns away his ear from hearing the law, because the law is light. The commandment is a lamp. Even his prayer shall be an abomination. Now, shouldn't that cause you to become more focused? And Yahweh is looking for people that are interested, people that are who desire to be focused. This is how focused Yahweh wants you to be. And this is how focused he's looking for you to become. In the book of Isaiah, in the book of Isaiah, '49. In the book of Isaiah 49, we're talking about focus driven. And you got to get yourself into focus. Isaiah 49. And I'm going to start reading the 3rd verse. Isaiah 49 and 3. And he said unto me, you are my servant, O Israel, in whom I will be glorified. Then I said, I've labored in vain, because that's what a lot of people doing. They doing a lot of stuff, but it don't mean nothing. I spent my strength for nothing. And in vain. They using all this strength, and they being worn out, stressed out, because they ain't doing nothing. What they're doing is meaningless. Yet surely my judgment is with Yahweh, and my work with my Elohim. And now says Yah, that formed me from the womb to be a servant, to bring Jacob again to him. Though Israel is not gathered, yet shall I be glorious in the eyes of Yahweh, and my Elohim shall be my strength. And watch what it says. And he said, it is a light thing that you should be my servant, to raise up the tribes of Jacob. You notice it say, it is a light thing that you should be my servant to get a good job, to raise your children right, to have a good marriage. No, because once you are focused on the light, everything will fall into place, because the light is the law. The commandments is the lamp. Without that, you doing things, but you don't see what you're doing. And nobody can't tell you don't see what you're doing. You stumbling all over the place, but you don't know you stumbling. You don't know you tripping. You don't even know that you can't even see. And watch what it says again. It is a light thing that thou shouldst be my servant, to raise up the tribes of Yaakov, and to restore the preserve of Israel. I will also give you for a light to the Gentiles, that you may be my salvation unto the end of the earth. So what is Yahweh saying? Yahweh is looking for people that he can use as a shining light. He's looking for people that could shine to the extent that they will become his salvation. He's looking for people that people can see and also become focus driven, because they're focused on the light, and then the light that they're focused on is the light that's driven by Yahweh. And Yahweh drives the light. But who can see that? Who can see whether Yahweh is driving this thing or not? But the righteous. Focus driven. You got to start off with light. How you going to build in Yahweh, but yet you don't even know the law? You don't keep the commandments? You're not focused on that? You're not driven by that? You're not talking about that? But you focus on everything else. Focus driven. That's the very first thing that Yahweh said. Let there be light. And still to this day, we don't know what the light is. We don't know what it's for. We don't know its origin and its beginning. And we don't know what we also must become. We must become the light. And we can't become the light by concerning ourselves with everything else. You think the sun and the moon, when they come up, you think the sun worried about the moon? And you think the moon worried about the sun? And you think the moon worried about the star? Man, the stars, where they at today? No, they not worried about one another. They worried about their job and what they were made for, what they were created for, and they do their job. But what is your job? What is your job? Focus driven. Even as the day come in, the very first thing when the day come in, do Yahweh want you focused on your kids? Do Yahweh want you to focus on your husband? Do he want you focused on your wife? Do Yahweh want you to focus on breakfast? But when the light come in, let me show you what Yahweh wants you focused on. And watch what it says in the book of Psalms 113. Starting at the very first verse. And imagine that this is where your focus is. And watch what it says. Praise you, Yah. Praise, O you servants of Yahweh. Because that's the only one going to praise Yahweh. Praise the name of Yahweh. Blessed be the name of Yahweh from this time forth and forevermore. And watch what it says. From the rising of the sun into the going down of the same. Yah's name is to be what? Praised. Now you focus. Because you focus on the one that woke you up. You focus on the one that provided you food. You focus on the one that protected you while your eyes was closed. While your back was turned. Where your body was still. Where danger could have consumed you and you would have never even known it. You focus on the one that put the breath in your lungs and in your nostrils, who kept your heart beating, who kept your blood flowing. The one that made and created you. Why else should you be focused on anything else for praise? Because if you do that, then everything else will fall into place. Because now you focus driven. And what are you focus driven on? The light. What is the light? The law. What is the lamp? The commandments. And Yahweh saw the light, that it was good. But why don't you see that this light is good? And one more thing on this first thing, this beginning thing, where you got to start it. I know you want to save your kids. I know you want to save your parents. I know you want to save your marriage. I know you want to save your brotherhood, your sisterhood. But save yourself. Save yourself. Here it is. We got people talking about, can white people be saved? Can this nation be saved? Can that people be saved? But do they ever ask themselves, can you be saved? Can I be saved? What you worried about everybody else and you don't even ask the question, can I be saved? And what do you think salvation is? Salvation is light. Did not he say, I will give you a light unto the what? Gentiles. That thou mayest be my salvation unto the end of the earth. Because salvation is light. And watch what it says in the book of Malachi. Love this scripture here. Malachi. The 4th chapter. The very first verse. Watch what it says. For behold, the days come, it's coming, that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yes, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble. And the day that comes shall burn them up, says Yahweh of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch. And what day is what kind of day is this, Yahweh? Watch what it says in the 2nd verse. But unto you that fear my name shall the sun, not the S-O-N, but the S-U-N, the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings. In other words, that Son is going to rise, and all the various diseases, all the various sickness, all the various wounds, all the various blemishes that you have, the Son of Righteousness shall arise with healing in his wings. And you shall go forth and grow up as calves of the stall. And you shall tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet. In the day that I shall do this, says Yahweh of hosts. In other words, the day is going to burn. It's going to burn like an oven. But to the wicked, they shall become ashes. And to the righteous, they going to heal. They going to heal from every type of ailment, disease that they might be faced with. So the very same light that will bring life is the very same light that will ultimately bring destruction. So either way, you're going to have to concern yourself with this light. For Yahweh said, let there be light, and there was light. And Yahweh saw that this light was good. And there is no focus. Here it is. Our people, they watching the television. And what do you think the television do? They focus on the news, the soap operas. They focus on social media, Facebook. They focus on everything else. But little do they know that these things is giving you the vision of what they want you to see. They not teaching you how to think. They telling you what to think. And now your focus is not with Yahweh. It's not on Yahweh. It's not about Yahweh. But what's number two? What's the second thing you must concern yourself with? Because you got to have order. And the first order of business is all about light. How can you be focused and you can't even see? Well, let's deal with number two. In being focus driven. And watch this. I love this. And this took us a minute to understand this thing, man. I remember a brother asked me a question about this, and it was the first time I ever been asked it. In the book of Genesis, the first chapter. And watch what it says. The 6th verse. And Elohim said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And Elohim made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And Elohim called the firmament heaven. And the evening and the morning were the second day. And then I look at this thing and I say, my goodness. This was the second day and Yahweh made the heavens. But I noticed that when Yahweh made the heavens, Yahweh didn't say what he said the first day when he made the light. See, in the 4th verse, it says, and Elohim saw the light, that it was good. But then when I start reading about the heavens, I didn't see where Yahweh said this thing was good. But this is when he made the heavens. The evening and the morning was the second day. He put that firmament in the midst of the waters and divided the waters from the waters. Well, why wasn't this thing good? Well, the reason why it wasn't good, and the reason why Yahweh didn't say he saw that it was good, because it wasn't. It was not complete. And why wasn't it complete? Well, I want you to see why this thing was not complete. Because Yahweh, he separated the waters. He put that firmament in the midst of the waters. Called that firmament heaven. But if you know anything about the second, if you know anything about being focused, there's certain things, there's certain elements that has to be present. Especially since now we're dealing with the second. And let me show you what that is. Why Yahweh did not say it was good. And you're going to see all the other days he saw that it was good. But not the second day. And the reason why, because when Yahweh made the heavens, it was not complete. But watch what he says in the 14th verse. And Elohim said, let there be lights. Didn't we just get finished talking about lights? Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night. Even though he did that the first day. But on the second day, he made the heaven, but there was no lights in the heaven. But on the 4th day, he said, and Elohim said, let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, for seasons, for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And watch this. And Elohim made 2 great lights. The greater light to rule the day, the lesser light to rule the night. And he made the stars also. And Elohim set them in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth, to rule over the day and over the night, to divide the light from the darkness. And Elohim saw that it was good. Now this thing is good. What? The heavens. Why? Because he put these lights in the firmament of heaven. Why? Because now these lights that's in the heaven can light up everything. Why? Because he made 2 great lights. One to rule the day the other one to rule the night, and he made the stars also. And he wanted them to get light upon the earth, even though the earth ain't even made yet. To rule over the day and the night, to separate the light from the darkness. And Elohim saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day. And why is this so essential to being focused? Because little do people know, not only you must have light, as we can see how important light is to being focused, but what Yahweh is letting us know on the second day, that you got to have more than one witness. You have to become established. And you're not established just by one thing. It takes two or more to establish a matter. And oftentimes people, they not working to be established. How can you be focused and you're not even trying to be established? And how do you become established? And let me show you how you become established. Show you how Yahweh established things. Since Yahweh, unless Yahweh build a house, they that labor in vain that what? Build it. Here it is. The heavens by itself didn't establish nothing. But soon as Yahweh will put these lights, not just one light, but light to rule the day, light to rule the night. Matter of fact, 2 lights at night, and the greatest light in the day. And why? Because Yahweh wanted this thing established. Just like Yahweh want you established. And how can you be focused, driven, and you ain't willing to establish nothing? Doing nothing to establish. What are you here for? What are you doing? And you ain't trying to establish nothing. Watch what it says. Just to show you how Yahweh go to establish things. The book of Proverbs. I want you to see this. In the book of Proverbs, the 4th chapter. The first verse. Watch what it says. Hear you children the instruction of a father, and attend to know understanding. Why? Because it takes, you got to be able to listen. It's one thing to see, but how you going to establish the things you see without listening? Don't you have to have 2 or more witnesses to establish a matter? So you just can't be looking. You also got to be listening. How you just going to look at the traffic and see the traffic, but then you're not listening for nothing? You're just looking and seeing things, and And you ain't hearing nothing. Watch what it says. For I give you good doctrine. Forsake you not my law. For I was my father's son, tender and only beloved in the sight of my mother. He told me also and said to me, let your heart retain my words, keep my commandments and live. Get wisdom. Get understanding. Forget it not. Neither decline from the words of my mouth. In other words, keep listening. Forsake her not. She shall preserve you. Love her, and she shall keep you. And the 7 verses where I want your ears. Wisdom is the principal thing, because you need to be able to see. Therefore, get wisdom. And with all you're getting, get understanding. And you are not established unless you can understand something. No, your marriage ain't going to be established. You don't understand nothing. No, your children going to be unruly and you ain't going to be able to control. You don't understand nothing. Because you won't listen. No, you're not going to be successful because you're not established. Most families break up because they're not established. They ain't established nothing. You have to become established, and nobody want to work to be established. You have to be established. Watch what the Creator said. Speaking about being established. And you'll read this in a book of Proverbs, the 14th chapter. Focus driven. How can you do anything without being focused? You must become focused. There is no focus without light. And there is no establishing anything without understanding. In the very first verse, this is what it says. Every wise woman builds her house, but the foolish, talking about the foolish women, plucks it down with her hand. In other words, it takes wisdom to build. Because the scripture says in the 8th verse, same chapter, the wisdom of the prudent is to understand his way, but the folly of fools is deceit. And if you don't understand your way, then how can you then consider yourself being focused? Yahweh even said himself, he said, the wisdom is the foundations of the earth built, but by understanding it is established. So you can have a lot of light, but the light means nothing if you're not willing to establish that thing. Until Yahweh put them lights in the heavens. So on day 2, it took 2 days to create it. On the 2nd day, the heavens. And then on the 4th day, the lights was put there. And now this thing is good. Now this thing is complete. Now this thing is established. But how do you become established? If the law is light, is the light, the lamp is commandments. Well, how do you establish this thing? Well, let me show you. In the book of Psalms, 111. How can you get anything together and you not together? But once you're together, how do you know you're together? Because everybody will see your light. They will see your light. You don't have to go around shining your light on nobody. They will see your light coming. They will see your light break forth. They will see your light coming down the way. And if your light ain't shining, you only got one person to blame, and that's yourself. In the book of Psalms 111, watch what it says. The 10th verse. The fear of Yahweh is the beginning of wisdom. And watch this. A good understanding have all they that do his commandments. His praise endures forever. Yes, because to be established, you got to be a commandment keeper. You got to keep Yahweh commandments. How you going to be established and all you want to be is fed and catered to? Well, to be established, you got to keep the commandments. You got to do some things. You got to show forth your praise. You got to speak action rather than words. But no, we're looking for somebody else to keep the commandments. No, you have to be the light that you speak about, that you talk about. And then you have to establish the light that you are. And we know when you are established. Watch this. In Psalms 37, this is how I know when one is established. In the book of Psalms 37, the first verse. Fret not yourself because of evildoers, neither be you envious against the workers of iniquity, for they shall soon be cut down like the grass and wither as the green herb. In other words, why are you envious of the workers of iniquity? And why are you fretting because of evildoers? All I hear is you complaining. All I hear is you talking. All I hear is you concerning yourself too much with people that don't have no interest in coming to the light and being the light. Watch the third verse. Trust in Yahweh. Why? Because that's where the light is. And do good. So shall you dwell in the land, and truly you shall be fed. See, once you trust in Yahweh, you're going to be fed. So why are you worried about eating all the time? And what you're going to eat? And who fed you? And who served you? Yahweh will feed you. Delight yourself also in Yahweh. Why? In other words, love yourself in Yahweh. Because who you to think the one that fed you? And he shall give you the desires of your heart. Now, Yahweh want to know what you want to eat. Since you trust me, and now that you delight yourself in me, you love me, now tell me what you want to eat. Commit your way unto Yahweh and trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. Because now I can bring to pass what you want. Why? Because you committed to Yahweh and you trust that Yahweh going to do it. And so now I'll make it happen. But what sense does it make for Yahweh to make anything happen for you and you don't even trust him? Nor are you committed to him. In other words, to be committed to Yahweh is to be focused, driven. It's to be focused on Yahweh. It's not about your abilities, or it's not about other people's abilities. It's about your abilities. Do you trust in Yahweh? See, Yahweh made things happen for you if you just trust in Yahweh. And he shall, watch this, 6th verse. And he shall bring forth your righteousness as the light, and your judgment as the noonday. In other words, the brightest part of the day. They'll be able to see your judgment, and they will see that it's good. They will be able to see your righteousness because it will be light. Rest in Yahweh. Wait patiently for him. Fret not yourself because of him who prosper in his way. What you worried about other people for? Because of the man who bringeth wicked devices to pass. Look at them. Look what they got. Look what they doing. He love his wife. But do he love Yahweh? She love her husband. But do she love Yahweh? He committed to his job. But is he committed to Yahweh? Cease from anger. Forsake wrath. Fret not yourself in any wise to do evil. In other words, stay away from evil, man. Stay away from evil. Don't even fret. Don't even think about it. Stay away from evil. Watch what it says in this beautiful Psalms 37. In the book of Psalms 37. Watch what it says. The 37th verse. Mark the perfect man, and behold the upright, for the end of that man is peace. Why do you mark the perfect man? What's a marker? A marker like the sun and the moon and the stars. You mark it. You see it. It's light. You behold the upright. That's who you watch. That's who you look for. That's who you see. For the end of that man is peace. But the wicked can't see this. They look at a righteous man. They look at a upright man, and they won't even see peace. They won't even have peace. They see trouble. Yeah, man, I don't like the way he teach, man, because he be teaching. Just think. Here it is today. Many of our people love Mowreh IshYAH. They talk about Mowreh IshYAH like Mowreh IshYAH was the best thing since sliced bread. IshYAH, man, they say IshYAH is this, and IshYAH was that, and Mowreh IshYAH was, but when Mowreh IshYAH was alive, he was the most hated man on earth. Now, no, the people who know him, the people who live and was with him, they know I'm telling the truth. He was the most scorned, the most hated, the most talked about, and the most feared. But now that he's gone, man, I love IshYAH. IshYAH was this. IshYAH is that. And but see, we know the truth. The truth is, they didn't mark him. They didn't behold him when he was alive. It says, mark the perfect man. He ain't perfect. He made mistakes. He did this and he did that. That's all I will hear. But today, they don't talk about his mistakes. He's just a man, but now he's a prophet. Behold the upright. Nobody talk about how upright he was, even though he was a man of Elohim. Even though the things that he was teaching, nobody else was teaching. Even though he brought you, thus says Yah. But when he was alive, he's just a man. But now, he's immortalized. But that's what the wicked would do. See, the wicked, the way of the wicked is darkness. It is not light. It is not light. And Yahweh wants you to come into the light. Yahweh wants you to be about the light. But the light won't mean nothing if you're not established. You have to become established, or all your works are in vain. And let me show you how Yahweh say you become established. In the book of 2 Chronicles, the 20th chapter. In the book of 2 Chronicles, the 20th chapter, and watch what it says. The 20th verse. And they rose early in the morning and went forth into the wilderness of Tekoa. And as they went forth, Jehoshaphat stood and said, Hear me, O Yehudah, and you inhabitants of Jerusalem. Believe in Yahweh, your Elohim, so shall you be established. Believe his prophets, so shall you prosper. And how can you prosper in the word of Yahweh and you going around telling people there is no prophets? How can you prosper in Yahweh and you telling people that we don't even have to keep the law, when the prophets are the ones who sent to tell you to keep the law? How can you prosper when Yahweh said he will do nothing but what he first revealed unto his servants, the prophets? There is no prospering. No wonder your marriages are in shambles. No wonder your family is broken up. No wonder. I'm good. Your house is not in order. Because you're not prospering in Yahweh. He think it's you. You think it's him. They think it's other people. But at the end of the day, you're not prospering. And you got arrows pointed all directions except for the number one direction. And that's at yourself. And if you don't believe in Yahweh, you're not going to be established. So I don't care what light you think you in. If you're not in the light of Yahweh, then you're not going to be established. We have to see light in you. We have to see light on you. We have to see that the path that you're on is light. Why? Because the scriptures say, mark the perfect man. Uphold behold the upright, for the end of that man is peace. So I'm looking at your path. I'm looking at your head. I'm looking over your head. And I'm looking inside yourself. Is this light? Is light coming from him? Is light coming from her? Is light coming out of their house? Because if I don't see no light, then I know this thing ain't established.
90 seconds.
For wisdom is the principal thing. But with all thy getting, get understanding. And until you understand these things, you can't be established. Focus driven. What are you focused on? You focus on having babies, you're not even established. You focus on marriage, you're not established. You focus on a job, what about Yahweh? Who you think give you a job? Who you think give you the food? Who you think set the table? Who you think woke you up? Who you think put clothes on your back, shoes on your feet, food in your mouth, roof over your head? But you're not focused on that. And unless Yahweh build a house, they that labor in vain to build it. We have to become focused. And we had a season where things going to get real dark. And you want to be able to see. And if you can't see, you can't be focused. And if you're not prospering, it's only because you're not established. And if you're not established, it's only because you don't believe in Yahweh. So until tomorrow, Yahweh love you. And so do I. Shalom.
Refuge in my fortress protects me from the wicked's deadly ordinance. Snakes master psychology, phony people studying fakeology. Y'all see, I'm a god, it's not ego. Psalms 82 verse 6. Even JC know who be me. Lion face crew be deep. Soldiers for y'all, screw these streets in front like the heat go. That's how I lead, waiting on the master. In the meantime, studying for my masters, building houses, growing college, sharpen my sword, and I'm cutting up scholars.